One man currently hospitalized tonight after police say he threatened to kill members of a South Side family. This happened last night. Officers responded to a family disturbance call at a home near Shadow Bend and Brays Valley off Everhart Road. The homeowner said they were threatened by a man who was heavily armed, and then a short time later, based on vehicle description, officers stopped a suspect who reportedly had a gun and tried to run. At least one officer fired at the man and wounded him. He's now being treated at a hospital. No officers were hurt. The interim police chief, David Blackman, said the officers responded proportionally.
We take all family disturbance calls very seriously because often these are repeats, where there's continued family violence.
So far, the suspect has not been identified, and as is the case with all officer-involved shootings, all the responding officers have been put on administrative leave.